Be the Messenger, the Courageous Hearts Collective podcast, hosted by Dr. B. Chad Starks.
Family, peace, power, and purpose. Welcome to Be the Messenger, the Courageous Hearts Collective podcast. I'm your host, Dr. B. Chad, critical criminologist, transformational soul coach, grandfather, father, survivor, brother, uncle, and a messenger. I created this space because I understand what it's like to survive dysfunction. I'm born and raised in the South. I come from a community that most people in my PhD programs would define in the sociological literature as dysfunction. And y'all know dysfunction has a number of different definitions, but we're talking about growing up in a family without a traditional two-parent household consistently, or in a community that academia defines as like broken windows theory, where you see abandoned buildings or homes and communities that may not be up to par in comparison to most middle to upper class communities. I created this space because I know what it's like growing up in families and communities and going into classrooms and courtrooms and institutions that claim they advocate for justice while they sit and watch injustice bleed through the cracks of the individuals that they claim to love and stand up for. I've been doing this justice work for over 30 years. I have 2 master's degrees, a PhD, and I even got a certificate in transformational soul coaching. And believe it or not, I've been in class twice in 2 different states, in 2 different colleges, 2 different conferences or summits, trying to learn how to do a podcast. I'm a student of life. I'm a sponge of life, and information is my water. And I'm here to really elevate the message. Those classrooms and those courtrooms and all those accolades that I just gave you, what I realized on this journey that it wasn't enough, that I needed more. Maybe a few years ago, when I'm in academia as a college professor, I was struggling, like a lot of black professors do. I was at a predominantly white institution, and in the middle of the night, I woke up, was like, yo, I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. Yeah, over 30 years. We're going to talk about some of the things that I've been fortunate enough and blessed to do to create real change, but not transformation. And keeping it a buck with you, I was looking for a place for black men to heal. We do a lot of self-reflection. We believe that self-reflection increases our self-awareness and it raises our self-consciousness. I had a football coach in high school that used to ask you every day, every game, what you gonna remember tonight with it just you and the ceiling. Rest in peace, Coach Kenny Kirkland. But he used to ask us that before every game. After the game, it's just gonna be you and the ceiling. And you're just gonna remember what? The plays that you probably didn't make. And that happened to me. All those degrees, all the relationships, all the spaces that I've been fortunate enough to be in, just didn't feel like I was doing enough. Didn't feel like this message was getting out. Don't feel like the systems were transforming quick enough, or I wasn't doing enough to put myself in position to create some real change. And that allowed me to look internally, right? Again, it allowed me to look internally, and I realized that healing is probably the most revolutionary thing that one can do to make transformation. Whether you from privilege, whether you from poverty, whether you from dysfunction, the Courageous Hearts Collective is for you. It is a space where we want to confront our own pain, confront the pain in the world, and remove that numbness, right? It's easy to get numb to things that are happening in your family, and you can normalize that and say, get over it. Especially coming from the South, and a place where religion is often used to as a way of understanding why you may have been chosen, or your family, or your racial or gender identity has been chosen to suffer, to struggle. And you kind of normalize that prayer is often used to get you out of those struggles. And we've normalized that in a number of different cultures. I've seen it normalized on my journey in education, right? Like you realize you're supposed to get beat down and suffer in order to get a PhD. You're supposed to question whether or not you are worthy enough to get it in lieu of an access or a positive way of looking deeply inside you and pulling out the best of you. So I decided that this next step on my journey was to stop hiding. Those of you that know me intimately and personally, yeah, I talk a lot. I don't mind being in front of the room. But I don't think I've been doing a very good job at standing up and waving a hand all the time. I actually thought that hiding was healing, right? I grew up in a family where you didn't really talk about the things that were happening to you, and you definitely didn't talk about them in another school or someone that didn't know your story or was a part of that intimate circle called family and community. So we've been taught to internalize pain. We've been taught to learn to compartmentalize, get over it, has often been said. And I think that was the impetus to those sleepless nights that I was having and saying to myself that I wasn't doing enough, that healing hadn't happened. So your boy went on a journey. Shouts out to Sedona Soul Adventures. But I took myself on a soul adventure and needed to learn some more, right? I needed to learn some practices of unlearning some of the things that have been given to me in my family and in my culture out of love, right? Some of those generational ways of dealing with of trauma and pain. And I had to go and unlearn that. And there were not too many places where Black men could go to heal. It just wasn't. I didn't find a place, a physical place that, tomorrow if I want to hop on a plane or hop in the whip and drive there, just didn't exist. So me and my brain and my visionary spirit and my purpose, I got to thinking like, wait a minute, this might be an opportunity for me to create one. Slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down. The first thing that you need to do is own that you need to do some healing yourself. So I'm asking you all, how many of you are really taking the time to understand what contributes to the way you experience and see the world? And most often it's the way we've been raised and the systems and the conditioning that society has based on labels and how we actually navigate different institutions and spaces. So after going on that soul adventure, I got pumped. I got geeked. I did a lot of unlearning. I looked internally, internal healing and external activism. You're going to hear me quote that. You're going to hear me quote some of the language that I use on this journey when I've been training in a number of different spaces is getting to get uncomfortable, to get comfortable. And I kind of akin that to a life's journey of the infant when they come in and you grow and shoe size begins to change and hot posture begins to change, that it doesn't always feel good. It's just necessary for you to get to the next level. So I created this space for me, right, to give me a platform to live up to my purpose of getting my message out. I believe that each one of us has a story to tell, and I believe that it's a survival guide for someone that is more likely experiencing some of the things that you've experienced, but may not have a way in healing from them and navigating them. That makes me think about my first semester at the University of Delaware in a PhD program. And my professor would bring a Diet Coke to class and no books. I mean, he was that well-versed, nationally known, internationally known with his work. And he was that confident and comfortable. And he gave us a wealth of knowledge without a true curriculum. It was just his lived experience that he integrated into a number of different theories and lifestyles of understanding society. So he asked us at the end of the semester, and this is now a PhD program, and I had to learn to read. right? So during that semester, he would give us a list of books, and you would run to the library so you could get the shortest book, and that shortest book for the week may be 175 pages, and you had to have that book read in a week before you came back to class. Interesting thing about that PhD program in that class, he would only ask us what did we learn. We didn't have to write anything. He wanted to see and test us how much knowledge could we retain, dissect, interpret, and then speak truth to what we had learned. And it began a different type of training for me. And at the end of the semester, he went around the classroom and he asked, "What have you learned this semester?" And I can remember what I said, and I quote, "I don't want to sound dumb, but I can't believe that people came into my home, my community, and wrote about the things that I experienced and went out to other homes, families, and communities, put it together, made a mass amount of macro level conversations around people struggling, put a label on it, gave it a theory, and sold it to so many different universities, and is now being taught in colleges and universities." That was my story. That was my life. That was my life that I couldn't go tell the guidance counselor about. I wasn't supposed to tell the coaches or the teachers about. It was the things that I was experienced that they defined as being dysfunctional. It hit me right in the face. And from that day on, I made a commitment, probably prior to that, but I just wanted to fix it. And I want to be a part of writing my own story and people that resembled some of those constructs or some of those ideologies that the PhD program had commodified and were spitting it back out to people as a way of understanding marginalized or people that was growing up in poverty as what they call dysfunction. So this space here is for you. It's for me. I'm trying to build community. The name of it is the Courageous Hearts Collective. My plan is to create 1,000,000 messengers, spark 1,000,000 messengers. I've been using this framework that I have for maybe 15, 16 years, and it has allowed me to go into so many different spaces. That framework is entitled Be the Messenger, and we will get into exactly what that looks like. But, I wanted to introduce myself in the beginning, let you all know and understand that Courageous Hearts is what it's about. I wrote a book last June entitled Courageous Hearts, a 52-week devotional guide to social justice through self-development. Yeah, it's a mouthful. And it really is a different way of looking at what social justice really is. And it takes courage. And I have 4 C's that I'm going to introduce you to around this concept. The mantra and the motto of what the Courageous Hearts Collective is healing first, justice always, reform forever. And we believe that each one of you got a voice. And if you've been asked to be quiet, if you've been asked to experience trauma or pain and not understand it and just get over it, if you've been silenced in classrooms and boardrooms, if you've been told to wait your turn, and those things have impacted the way you see the world, experience the world, your relationships, your jobs, your careers, this is a space for you. I see you. I see you, and I need you. But one thing that I realize in doing this work is service deserves more than a good heart. It deserves a level of expertise. And that has been the impetus and my experience that you get really excited about wanting to help. And I'm not even talking about on a macro level, just on a micro level. Just think about family. I'm going to talk a great deal about the first institution that fails us and is out of love. And I know that's pushing some of you back away from from your phones or from your computers, but just give me a second. Trust me, I'm gonna take us on this journey, and I want to walk with you on this journey. So for now, your host, B. Chad. I just wanted to make sure I come and introduce myself before we get into the four pillars and let you know that this space is for you. We're going to talk about the Be the Messenger framework, and we're going to unlearn and we're going to learn and we're going to heal. We're going to create a million messengers of justice by amplifying your voice and showing you what a courageous heart is, that fear and doubt, they're part of the game. But a courageous heart doesn't run from the truth, doesn't run from the pain. It shows up anyway. So, like I said, I'm your host, Dr. B. Chad, and here's the Courageous Hearts Collective podcast. So, the Be the Messenger framework that I mentioned, it is it's the foundation of everything we're going to do with the Courageous Hearts Collective. Like I mentioned before, I've been doing this for over 30 years. And I realized that in academia, when I got there, I realized that I needed to create a much more intentional way of discussing my theory, discussing it in a way that it is soluble for everybody. So let me tell you how this came about, right? So I was a PhD student at the University of Delaware, and I was playing what they call noon hoops. And noon hoops is where, professors, staff, faculty members, students, and sometimes even local residents from the community, they come through and we hoop, we balling at noon. So I'm still an old man, but I still think I can get out there and do something. So I met a couple brothers, not black dudes, like biological brothers. There was two white dudes. Just to be clear, it was two white dudes, but they were brothers and they were real cool. And we became cool out off the court as well. And then one day, one of them was like, "Yo, man, I want you to meet my pops." And I thought it was a little weird that I was, being invited to go home to meet Daddy. But I accepted the invitation and we met pops one day for lunch. And their father happened to be one of the top physicists in the game, and he also played noon hoops. I just hadn't played with him yet. So as time went on, we began to play together at noon hoops, and one day he invites me to lunch by myself, and I go. He starts exposing me to different cultures, different types of food, bringing his world travels, his experience as an academic to me and sharing space as I was doing the same. So I started sharing my research interests. As a criminology student, I was there, of course, to dismantle the prison system, the criminal justice system, and reform it and open the doors, just totally get rid of mass incarceration. And of course, it was the racial bias approach that I was very comfortable with expounding upon, right? So once he, found out who I was, I told him a little bit about my life story, my journey, how I got to the university, and we became real good friends. And he begins to tell me about some opportunities around this NASA space grant. So NASA has different programs I'm pretty sure you're familiar with. But NASA space grant program didn't have enough women and didn't have enough black and brown students, not only receiving awards, but receiving applications even to put themselves in position to receive the awards. So I told him I could help. And he looked at me and he started laughing. And he was like, "Yo, how could you help?" I was like, "I bet you advertise these scholarships, internships, and graduate fellowships with a flyer in the hallway." And he was like, "Yeah." And I looked at him and laughed. And I was like, black students, brown students, first generational students, they're not coming to no college looking at no picture of no white astronaut and thinking that they can become them. You already disconnected them from their identities and their hope. I said, but you also need to understand that you're up against generational hopelessness that's being passed down in some of these families and communities, meaning a lot of grandmamas, daddies, aunties, uncles, fathers, whoever, brothers, whoever was a part of that person's journey to get to college. Can you imagine what they told them once they got to college, especially at predominantly white institutions? Baby, keep your head down. Go to school. Don't start no trouble. And they're excited about the day they get to go to the dollar store and buy the frame so they can put their college degree on the wall. Most aren't coming to school looking at a flyer and thinking they can become an astronaut. Because I can tell you this, if that baby goes home and mentions NASA or whatever, that grandmama, that granddaddy, them uncles, they're going to think their baby going to the moon. He looked at me, took a step back. He was like, wow, I never thought about it like that. I said, yeah, he never had to. And that's where that two forms of education that you're going to hear me talk about, right? That informal and formal education, and they both contribute to how you experience and see the world. That was informal. That was me coming from that sociological literature being dysfunctional and having that experience. Because at the age of 14, Betty Lee looked at me. Betty Lee is my mama to the world. She looked at me and said, boy, I hear you keep talking about going to college. We ain't got no money to send you, so you better get one of them things that they call scholarships. Whew. So we're going to talk about courageous hearts? I needed one that day. My little feelings were hurt. I thought I deserved something. I thought at 14, I had the right education because I had good manners. And if y'all know the history of Black families and communities, that first education was your mom and them hearing from someone else that you had good manners. I resembled that. I exhibited that. I was proud to make her proud. I told you there's going to be some truth telling here because that's the transformation. That's the journey to transformation is the truth telling. You got to be able to label your pain if you want to heal from it. That hurt. Betty Lee told me the truth that the resources were not there. She also showed me she had no idea, even though she graduated salutatorian, she had no idea what it takes to get a scholarship. She had no idea about student loans. She had no idea about what it takes. That was the best advice and conversation that she could have ever given me. I had to show up anyway. That courage had to show up. And she put me in alignment with saying that this is on you. Take advantage of the resources that you have in schools, coaches, or whatever it is. Go ask questions. But we don't have the financial security to pay for it. It changed the way I looked at my journey. Courageously, I had to go get it myself. Fortunate enough, I earned a scholarship to go to Wofford College to play football, but I was a heck of a student as well. Okay, I digress. Back to the conversation about NASA. I impressed them enough for them to invite me in, at least for a meeting to meet with the director. So he accepted that there was a different way of thinking. And I expressed to them, I was like, in this sociological literature, and we're talking about coming off the war on drugs as well, right? That whole conversation about communities having propriety opportunity of selling drugs to economically take care of their families. So everything for me was about mass incarceration. So I was like, hey, you realize that if you take NASA and you replace it in these communities that are full of DOPE, you just address structure and equality personally on his head. If we can get these babies to go home and tell grandparents, uncles, aunts, communities, coaches, parks and rec, if we can say, man, NASA compared to DOPE, we changing the game single-handedly. So when I met with the director, I said it again to him. Now, just putting this in context, this director, I was informed, may have never sat with a Black person before. This is an academia. This is a college professor. And I may be the first Black man that he's ever sat down to have a conversation with. That's what I was informed. I got excited. I did. I got crunk. I love being a trailblazer. I also learned the responsibility of my identity, my group identity as a Black man, that I get to go represent everybody that he has never had the privilege of sitting with. I thought it was an honor that I get to make their impression and represent my people. So I did the thing that I was supposed to do, right? As y'all can see, we got the locks. I put them up. I got wick locks now. I had traditional locks then. But I put them up in a ponytail, right? Because I didn't want him to use the stereotypes of me being dark-skinned with dread, knotted up hair, to be an impetus for him to cut me off before I got a chance to open my mouth. So I understood my environment. A courageous heart, he won't run away from the truth. I didn't run away from the truth about what assumptions that this white professor may have about me. I walked right into it. My faith, the belief, the opportunity to advocate for folks that wasn't in the room. So we went to lunch, and the words I stated convinced him, my presentation, who I was. So he invited me to come to the NASA conference where the students give out the awards and they show their research when they receive them. And I went in and I put on a gray suit, a plain white shirt, and a blue red, white, and blue tie. I wanted to show that I was an American and democracy mattered to me as well. Again, understanding my environment, that I may be the only one that looked like me in the room. So I wanted to present myself as safe from a physical eye space. It worked. And by the time I started kissing hands and shaking babies, I was receiving emails and invitations that I would please come and join the Delaware Space Grant. And that's where it started. And I was able to create this framework with 4 constructs around identity, culture, diversity, and respect. Who do you know? Do you know who you are? Do you know how they see you? There's 2 parts to your identity, how you see yourself, and do you love everything about what you see in that mirror? Everything that you see, especially the parts that people tell you not to like. Are you good with you? Do you know what makes you tick? Have you reflected on the things that influence the way you feel about certain topics? Have you raised your awareness about what that looks like in the real world, how you contribute to it? How much bias might be in the way you frame conversations? Raising your self-consciousness. Also, your group identity, what you represent. They're going to put you in a box. The same way I want you to label that pain so we can address it, they're going to put you in the box. They do everything in categories in this country, right? Because it makes them feel safe. They don't have to get to know you. If they know the category, then they put the label on top of you and it's a wrap. Then they engage and interact with you based off that label. So dark skin, locks, I might have been a criminal. I might have been a thug. I might have been a whole lot. So I understood that. So I walked with grace and intersecting the way I frame my conversations in that space. Culture, belief systems, what you believe in, the food you eat, the music you listen to, what makes you bop, what makes you do the things that you do. Be proud of your culture, all of us. I am not ashamed that I come from the dirty South, my family, my community. I love it all because it's a part of me. And as you know, I am fearfully and wonderfully made, just like you. Made in the image of God. So I will not apologize for any of it, and I will own and accept it. Your culture is what makes you you. Do not be ashamed. Do not be afraid. Own it. While simultaneously understanding that there are other cultures as well. Take the opportunity to learn about them in different cultures with an open mind and an open spirit and a courageous heart that you're going to gain something. Life is like a toolbox. When I'm standing in front of my students, it's what I tell them. What tool do you need for this job? If you haven't experienced different cultures, you may not have the tool for the job. It makes sense to me. University of Delaware didn't have cultural competency. They had no idea that they could put a little black girl or a brown boy on that same picture and advertise those scholarships, internships in the same way if they understood what cultural competency was. They could only see it through their lens, which made them limited in their reach to reach the goals that NASA has set out. Diversity. Buzzword for now, right? It's real tough. Everybody running around here shooting, killing DEI programs, getting away with them, showing their real fear, not showing up with courage anyway, thinking that diversity is a transactional relationship that only shows up with people that have been marginalized. What an insult to understanding the game. It's about different ways of thinking, different ways of being, different ways of knowing. It's about recognizing the strength and the value in something that is not like you. A different tool for a job that you hope will come your way. That's like that sponge analogy I gave you where I'm trying to soak up all the information and resources. I told you I was a father. What do I look like not being able to address the issues that my baby's going to go through? I'm a professor. How can I not? You're going to need more than one way, more than one job. You hope you get that opportunity to contribute to someone else's journey. So diversity is something that we should be chasing. It's my third construct. And the last one is respect. Now, I told you I'm from the South now, and I've seen a lot of folks get backhanded. I've seen a lot of spankings and whippings. We can feel how we want because respect is defined based on your community, your culture, and it has so many different definitions. But I put it there because in this Venn diagram, the goal is to get to the respect level, and you won't need to expound upon the other three because your spirit, your soul, you're going to have respect for a different identity. You're going to have self-respect for your identity. You're going to have respect for a group identity. You're going to have different cultures, your cultures. You're going to have different ways of thinking, being. If you respect all of those, we won't have to be so in tune with the politics that we are experiencing that's creating the pain now, just picking people up off the street and sending them to who knows where, to where we are undoing a lot of the progression that we've made to show that Black people have contributed in a positive way in the same place that we've helped build this country, but we don't want that history. We want to ban the books that are showing that we are trying to live up to some of the words about being equal in this country. That's painful. And I know some of you are experiencing this pain now, just like I am. Some of you don't know what to do. Some of us been tricked, right? That we never thought that we would undo what civil rights and those that died for us created. What integration, segregation. Think about all those people marching and dogs being sit on them and crosses being burned and lynchings and murders, all for us to be back here now. That's why I created this, y'all. We need a place to land. We need a place to heal. We need to be right here trying to figure this out. Don't get numb to this. Don't get numb. I'm begging you. Look inside. Internal healing and external activism. We got work to do. But on this journey, I realize, and there's no disrespect to the people that I work with and come into contact with, I'm prepared. We are not prepared because we haven't healed, and that can be very exhausting. This work is exhausting. Black, brown, white fatigue is real, but that's where the healing comes in, protected. Understand that if you have to protect your peace, you aren't at peace at all. We're going to make decisions from our soul, not from our personality. And my framework, I've used it in trainings, workshops. I share with you where I've given talks around the country, universities, even some international spaces where I've been able to take this framework. I've been very fortunate. Courtrooms, classrooms, communities, been very fortunate. To be the messenger is time to be shared with you all. We will be creating a million messengers of justice, but it starts with the healing first. So let's get ready to rock. Let's get ready to unlearn and learn. And let's go with the student approach. And we all have something to add, something to offer. And let's make a million messengers of justice. Healing first, just as always, reform forever. Okay. Now, we've discussed the 4 pillars to be the messenger framework. We've got that down pat. Now let's understand like your story. Like it doesn't matter how messy, it doesn't matter the speed bumps, it doesn't matter the failures, the rejection, the pain. All those things we hear a lot of people say what happened to them. those things actually happen for you. Those are opportunities to turn that pain into purpose. I want to help you understand that your story is sacred. Your story is a survival guide for somebody else. I wish I would have listened earlier when people on my journey would always look at me and say, "Hey, when you going to tell your story? When you going to tell your story?" And I would look at them, right, as a black man, like I haven't accomplished enough yet. I haven't gotten to celebrity status. I haven't changed enough lives. I haven't done anything that's huge enough that people would pay attention to. I didn't realize growing up where I grew up, overcoming a lot of the speed bumps, the intentional speed bumps that maybe government has set in place, made it a story. I used to often say just because I survived those systems doesn't mean they were intended for me to. That's a story in itself. How many of you have looked in the mirror and overcome some pain, some speed bumps? They're not dead end streets, they speed bumps. How many of you have done that? How many of you have done the work, put the work in, and came out better on the other side? That is how I got here. That is how I created my framework. That is how I left being a business owner to go get a PhD. That's how I went to become a transformational soul coach to take the adventure. It was that courageous heart was showing up that I needed to do more. I needed to heal from it. I didn't have any story. Your story is sacred. I was doing all of that to survive. This is about you. I want to help you thrive. I can remember a lot of the labels that I fit into, right? Like I was once the angry black man. I didn't think I was angry, but a lot of other people did. I mean, and you grow up in certain communities, you know how to deal with things when you get angry. And I went to a predominantly white school in the northern part of South Carolina, a private liberal arts college, and you come from different cultures and money, and it's like the second highest tuition in the state of South Carolina. So there was a lot of cats there that. I don't know if they had run into cats like me, but I didn't know too many cats like them, and the experiences didn't always go well. I had to get a couple. I had to put hands on a couple, and I can remember my coach, who became like a surrogate father. Let me say that, who came to me a number of times, trying to understand, and there was once a time where I didn't think he liked me, but I matured enough to understand that there was a level of respect that he had for me. When public safety would call him at 4 o'clock in the morning and tell him that Chad is at it again, he would always have me meet with him, maybe 5:30, 6 o'clock in what we call the old gym. But he would always pose the question, tell me what happened, son. He had every right to go on whatever stereotypes or whatever group identities, but he didn't. And he showed me the level of respect that my story mattered. It mattered a lot. But I hadn't healed at that time. So I kept participating in some ways of defending and representing, is what I would call it. And one of those last few times as a senior, he came to me and he was like, "Son, I don't want to kick you off this team. You're valuable. We need you the whole nine." And he looked up at me. He was like, "I never walked in your shoes, so I can't say that I can relate, but I can say you got to get a better way to get your point across." I had no idea what he meant until I stepped into a PhD program and I saw that they were writing about my community the way they were. And that's when it hit me. This is the way that I'm going to get my point across. It was therapeutic. I actually started the healing process when I moved from the South, went to the Northeast and experienced a different culture. And that level of education, both informally and formally, it really got me on that healing journey. I used to call it like I was looking for a soft place to land, which meant more like-minded people. But that's why I'm doing this now. Like I'm bringing this journey, hoping to ignite some connection to your spirit, to your soul, so you can realize that there's a survival guide. Who knows where I would have been if I would have been telling this story at the age of 25, 2 or 3 years after I left college, that I just grew up this way and I've graduated from college. Who knows what motivation or inspiration that would have been for others. Didn't have the awareness and wasn't ready. And I believe that everybody can't handle the same information at the same time. And God doesn't send it because you aren't prepared to know how to receive it or what to do with it. And that thought never crossed my mind. And that's what the healing is. That's why it's healing first, justice always, and reform forever. And I'm telling you, I just want to bring that opportunity to you to help amplify so you can find your voice. Imagine if, but let me ask you this. Have you ever been silenced, right? As a means of survival? Imagine if you could tell that same story now where you were not silenced, where you were speaking from a place of being healed. There's one thing I want to challenge us on that's in society now is that most of us are talking from a place of wounds, right? This happened to me. I experienced this. And it allows for others to, sympathetically connect with the emotional part of it. But the next step is quietly, courageously doing the work, paying the toll, and then coming out and saying, hey, I'm speaking from my scars, not from my wounds. We need solution-oriented initiatives. Great deal of this work with social justice, it didn't have that. The spaces that I've been in would all start with a great deal of empathy and passion and compassion. But as soon as accountability comes in, most of the team members are afraid to continue to advocate for those that aren't in the room. That's why we need the courageous hearts. That's why we need people in the room doing the justice work that are speaking from the scars. The emotion itself, it won't carry. The passion, it won't carry. But the purpose will. I believe in you. All of us have a survival guide. And the Courageous Hearts Collective, we want to create a space where people like that heart posture, they come together to create a community. This is all about creating a community and building a million messengers of justice. So I'm asking you all to look in the mirror and say, what story would I like to share? I'm going to give you a challenge this week. What is something that you could do to share your story? Meaning, we aren't here to go viral. We're here to be vital. So what do you have to add to the conversation around injustice? What injustice, whether personally or systemic, have you experienced? I can tell you walking in the communities, courtrooms, jails, classrooms, as a student, as a professor, it was all about justice work for me. But then it hit me one day like, this is not my profession. This is a calling. This is a movement. The Courageous Hearts Collective is a ministry of the people and for the people. I need you all to help me make it by the people. Today, we laid the foundation, right? We kind of laid the foundation of what the Courageous Hearts Collective is, what Be the Messenger is about. We explore why we need courageous hearts. I walked through the pillars, the constructs of what the Be the Messenger framework is. And we even touched on how sacred your story is. Now, I need to challenge you a little bit more this week to do one more thing. Keep this in mind. Courage, it is not a feeling. It's a decision. So this week, I'm going to ask a little bit more of you. I know I said I was going to only give you one thing to do, but I want you to take an act of healing justice. How many of us are journaling? Good. Sometimes when I first started journaling, right, I know you think about pen and pad. Make it easy on yourselves, brothers. I know a lot of us men don't always have pens. I'm being gender biased, excuse me, but not. But pull out your phones, or if you have an audio recorder, just hit that button. Just start talking. You have the experience. It's so much easier to audio journal than it is to grab that pen and pad and do it whenever. But I'm asking you, just take one healing of justice today, just for you. Tell one person what the movement is about. Tell them about the Courageous Hearts Collective. Share this episode. Contact me. Share it with anyone. Find out more. I do have a book. It is for sale. And I forgot to mention that this is going to be our curriculum. This is what I'm going to use to guide me on this podcast. This is where the structure of the podcast would be around the framework, be the messenger, but the book would be the curriculum. I also failed to mention the structure of the program, so let me do it now. We plan to have a long form video dropping hopefully on Sundays, and we would drop 2 mini-sodes. That long form video is called the Soul Session, so we just about completed Soul Session 1. And we'll drop 2 mini-sodes, one on Tuesday and one on Friday. That's going to be about 15 to 20 minutes or 15 to 30 minutes apiece. And just to keep the collective, to keep the energy going, to keep you abreast, to know that you are enough, and to act as a accountability and support system to make sure that we're doing this work. Healing is radical, and we got to take advantage of it. So as we begin to close, I would like to share with you that to all the courageous hearts out there, I see you, I honor you, I walk with you. Let's build a future where healing is not optional, it's foundational. Where justice is not theory, it's lived. Let's do better. Let's become better. Let's be better neighbors. Let's be better friends. Let's be better messengers. Let's be better ancestors. Until the next time, be courageous, be authentic, be love, be the messenger. If this soul session really ignited something in you, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and please leave a review and a comment. I'm on this journey with you. I'm doing nothing but trying to get better, and I invite you to share your thoughts to help make this much better for everyone listening. Thank you, and I'll see you on the minisode. If this soul session resonated with you, hit the like button, subscribe to it, share it with someone, and let's change the world one courageous heart at a time.